Michael Unbroken. Hello and welcome to the show.
Well, my friend, it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Now, Michael, if you could please share your story with us that eventually led you to do the work that you're doing now with your clients, please.
Yeah, sure. And I'll, of course, give you the elevator pitch version of that, as well as just a little disclaimer. I think it's incredibly important that people do not compare their stories to my story or to anyone else's because we all have a different experience. And mine was pretty dark. So when I was just 4 years old, my mother, who was a drug addict and alcoholic, actually cut off my right index finger. Now, that's context. That's where we begin this journey. My stepfather, super abusive, the kind of guy you pray is never your stepfather. And we spent the majority of my childhood deeply impoverished and even homeless. In fact, I lived with over 30 different families from the time that I was 8 to 12 years old. By the time that I was 12, I was getting high, taking drugs. By 13, drinking every day. And by 15, I was expelled from school for selling drugs. And, I was breaking into houses, stealing cars, running from the cops, getting shot at, like really crazy movie kind of stuff, right? But this was my real life. And eventually, I get accepted into a last chance program. I still do not graduate high school on time. And in fact, in summer school, after all of my friends got to graduate, the summer school teacher basically looks at me and goes, "Here's your diploma. We're done with you. Good luck with the rest of your life." And I was trying to figure out, like, how do you navigate trauma, abuse, homelessness, poverty, being bullied, being picked on, having a learning disability, all of the things that come along with childhood trauma. And I thought, it must be money. I'm going to go chase money. That'll be the solution. That'll change my life forever. Lo and behold, as many people do come to find, I did discover that money does not actually change your life or make it better. And in fact, by the time that I was 26, I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day, drinking myself to sleep. I was high from the moment I woke up till the moment I went to bed, and my life was an utter disaster. And in this rock bottom moment, like literally the worst day of my life, I'm laying in bed, it's 11 in the morning. Keep in mind, I'm 350 pounds at this point. I'm smoking a joint, eating chocolate cake, and watching the CrossFit games. Like the ultimate rock bottom. And I pulled myself up off the bed that day and I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. And I remembered being 8 years old and the water company had come and turned our water off. And I grew up in Indianapolis. I grew up in America in a major city, and we were so impoverished they would literally turn our water off, our heat, our electricity. We would get evicted all the time. And this particular day, I took this little blue bucket, walked across the street to our neighbor's house, and for the first time, I stole water. And I remember being like, well, when I'm a grown up, this won't be my life. And so at 26 years old, while it wasn't my life in so many ways, I was still that hurt, lost little boy. And as I looked in the mirror, I asked myself, what are you willing to do to have the life that you want to have? Ultimately, the answer was no excuses, just results. And 12 years later, here I am talking to you.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is a lot. And in the introduction, I said that we all have some form of trauma that has affected us at some point in our life and how we experience that. So I appreciate your disclaimer, as you said, because how we internalize the things that happen to us can be different for all of us. But what you went through is definitely a lot. Now, I believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, which means ultimately that our essential self is always whole, healed, and complete. And that while things around us may have happened to our physical, mental, and emotional self, and we feel broken, the true essence of who we really are is untouched and can never be broken. And, which is why even your name and your brand really spoke to me, because I believe that none of us are broken. And as I said, the true essence of us can never be broken. And so that spirit part of us can be a place that we go to help us remember who we are, and to help us to get through those difficult times in our life when we feel as if we are broken. And so I noticed, from your website and the work that you're doing in your book and everything is really helping people to become the heroes of their own story by remembering the truth of who they really are. And so in that moment, that crossroad when you were 26, I believe you said that you had kind of like that awakening for yourself, or that moment of enlightenment, maybe. I don't know what you're calling it, but um what did you realize about yourself in that moment that now, your name is Unbroken?
Yeah, I think that a lot of things come to mind from not just that moment, but moments leading up to it. I don't think, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't think anyone just kind of hits a rock bottom. I think there's this magnitude of different things that happen over time that lead you down that place. And I remember a quote from Stoicism that really calls to me when people ask me this question. And it says, Man who lives with courage dies once, and a coward dies a thousand deaths. And I was living this very cowardly life to a lot of an extent, right? Because I was living exactly what everyone had always told me I was going to be. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You're not capable enough. You're a loser. You're stupid. You're fat. You're dumb. You're never going to amount to anything. This is why your family doesn't love you. This is why you're homeless. Like all of those things, right? Think about all that in your head. And in that moment, what happened was I just realized like I was living into everything everyone told me I would be. I was terrified of myself. I was terrified of the idea that I could have success, that I could have abundance, that I could have wealth, that I could have love, compassion, hope, joy, fulfillment. Because if you've never experienced those things before, how could you know that you're capable of having them? And in that moment, what really struck me probably the hardest was recognizing that where I was right then was my fault. Now, I don't believe
Mm.
that we're capable for any of the bad things that happen to us. Like this finger I walk around with, 5 surgeries, skin grafts, discolored, missing half of it. Like I'm not responsible for that, or the cuts or the burns, right? But what I am responsible for is every decision that I make from this moment forward. And that's what really happened in that moment was recognizing, "Oh, wait a second. I've never lived into my capability before because I've been so brainwashed, enmeshed, and groomed into the negativity of other people's limiting beliefs while understanding, and this took me a while, that hurt people. And sitting into the recognition, like, wait a second, this is a cycle. Imagine how my parents' parents were and their parents' parents and so on as we go down this timeline. And in that, really what came of this concept of no excuses, just results, it simply meant I'm not going to negotiate with myself anymore. I'm not going to put myself down. I'm not going to belittle myself. And honestly, like the next 4 years of my life were the hardest 4 years of my life because it was like one step forward and a million steps backwards. Right. But the one thing that I decided was no matter what, just keep going forward. And I believed that on a long enough timeline, my life could be very, very different. And I never tried to seek better because I don't know how to measure better. Like, I can't put that on a table and go, "That's better than that." But I could look at different, and it really came down to me being like, "Okay, what did I do yesterday?" Well, yesterday I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes, I drank a fifth of Jack Daniels, I got in my car when I probably shouldn't have, I lied to people, I hurt myself, most importantly. What can I do differently today? And I recognize if I just do one thing differently every single day, well, over the course of a year, that's 365 different actions that you take to having a different life. And if you take 365 different actions, I promise you, your life is not going to look the same as it does today. And that's kind of what it was. I sat in the truth and I said to myself, you have allowed other people to take your power and you have to take it back. And that's a really hard reality for people to step into because so much of childhood trauma and abuse is the theft of identity. It gets taken from us. Who we are gets stolen. And to take that back is terrifying because you never knew you were allowed to begin with.